I'm still following the entire coast of Scotland's mainland, but this next chapter starts somewhere I didn't expect, inside the Kelpies, before continuing along the Fife coast to discover something far older inside Wemyss Caves. That is incredible. Well, good morning folks. It is nippy out there today, but I've got a really exciting day ahead. I cannot wait to tell you a little bit more about it. But right now, I've been visiting Salsgirth Home Farm, which is just near Dollar, around about 15 minutes or so from the western point of the Fife coast at Culross. And if you watched my last episode, you will have seen me come to the farm, do the tour, and not only that, they were kind enough to give me accommodation to stay in for the night, which was amazing. And the place was off the charts. It's sensational, jacuzzi and all that kind of stuff. Honestly, couldn't be more grateful. I've just said my goodbyes to Jan, the owner there, and the staff, Rebecca and Don. And I purchased some of their eggs. I've purchased some beautiful steak mince and some lamb, rosemary and garlic sausages. And what burgers did I get? Yeah, the Greek lamb and mint burgers as well, which is done by their butchers in Stirling, I believe. But I've got some stuff just to keep in the freezer, really, essentially, and that I can cook on this trip because, as you know, as I travel around the entire coast of mainland Scotland, the whole point is, to buy local as I go as well and cook with locally sourced foods from farm shops, from farms, from fish, fishmongers, fruit and veg stalls and things like of that nature, just where possible. Obviously can't do it every time. Yeah, and these eggs, oh my god, honestly, look, they're like sort of green and sort of bluey. They're proper tasty eggs. I had them with my steak last night. It was just fantastic. And it was a welcome break, actually. It was so kind of them to offer me a chance to sleep in one of their 3 accommodations. It was exactly what I needed, and I could have stayed in that bed forever this morning, I must admit. But we can't, because this morning, now, the plan was to go to Culross in Fife from here. It's about a 15-20 minute drive from where I am to take us back onto the coast and start my trip around the Fife coast, essentially. However, I got a phone call whilst I was here yesterday, and I have an opportunity to do something, and I just cannot pass it up. But it does mean going back on myself a little bit to the Kelpies in Falkirk, and I've got 3 very special guests that are going to be joining me. So I'll see you there. Well, folks, I said I had some very special guests with me today, and I do. 3 of my friends: Greg from Scotland Uncovered, Louisa, the Scottish geologist, and Chris Paul Lawler, the Did You Know in Scotland guy. But we're all pals. We're also Scottish content creators, and we're here today. It's the first time we've ever got together to do something really special. We're here at the Kelpies, and we're going to get to climb inside them, and we're going to take you with us. Let's go on a wee adventure. Oh, struggling. I'm struggling. I'm doing it sideways. Fucking hell. I struggled. Yeah, boy.
Well done. Smashing. This is cool as fuck.
Now, getting up to Barron's Mouth was one thing, but now we had to get down in a slightly more direct fashion.
Cool, excellent.
Okay.
Bend your knees and sit down into it.
Yep.
Perfect. A little bit of adjustment on these because
Yeah.
you're sitting in the harness rather than...
There we go.
Perfect, you're all good. Okay,
Yep.
cool. I'm just going to push you on the shoulder and we're just going to gently bring it out into position.
Where am I holding here?
Cool. You can just hold on to that just now.
Yep.
On the edge and push your legs out straight. Feeling happy?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to lower you down on that, then I'll explain what you're holding on to after, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Perfect. You're pretty much hanging on to exactly the right bit, so don't pull anything yet. I'm just going to do the next bit. So, everything's clear. Good. Cool. See that green bit there?
Yeah.
Just pull onto that.
And what am I holding on to this as well?
The blue one's perfect.
The blue one.
That's what's going to come tight.
Right. So pull that at the same time.
Absolutely. Just pull on that.
Right. Yeah, boy! Forgot to look at my feet.
Great, well done.
That was great fun.
Smashing.
Right, well, that was absolutely phenomenal. Louisa had to shoot off just after we did the jump down to get her bearing. How was that, lads? Good, eh?
Fantastic. Brilliant.
It was honestly brilliant. When is it? Is it open to the public, Chris, now, or is that?
I think in March.
In March.
It's open to the public, so it's not often it's on, but on their website they've got the dates.
Right, okay. Yeah, and the guy was talking, they're going to be doing other things as well. They're going to be doing something similar at the Discovery, the ship, down in Dundee, next to the V&A Museum and the Discovery Visitor Centre as well. Among other things, they do a lot for charities as well. They're going to be doing abseils off Murrayfield Stadium's roof and things of that nature to try and raise money for charity as well, which I might well get involved in future. But absolutely brilliant experience, highly recommend it if you ever do get the chance, and that's something you would enjoy doing. It's something just that little bit different and that little bit unique. Well, that was absolutely superb. What an experience that was. Absolutely loved it. And it is going to be opening to the public soon, which is brilliant. The guys, the instructors that were there, really, really good, really knowledgeable. And yeah, that's going to be a real hit when it opens up to the public without question. But I am now going to head to where I was originally going to head today. It's a way to get dark now. It's already started. The lights are on in the headlights are on in the van and all the rest of it. But I'm going to park up at De Villa Forest, which is just sort of right next to Culross, basically. And then tomorrow, set off on the Fife coast. And I'm really looking forward to showcasing the Fife coast because it's absolutely gorgeous. I really just hope I get the weather for it because it is due to rain pretty much every day. And I don't mind that. I mean, I'm trying to show the realities of van life and what it's really like and all the rest of it. Rain doesn't bother me. My skin's waterproof, you know, so it doesn't bother me in the slightest, and it doesn't stop me doing things. But it's very difficult to film for vlogs like this or for filming reels across social media or whatever when it's raining because, you know, two of my cameras, well, actually my cameras that I'm using for wandering about are waterproof. That's fine, but the lenses get water all over them, so you can't get. It's so difficult. You keep wiping them with a microfiber cloth. Oh, it's just a total nightmare. And unfortunately, you know, my drones aren't waterproof. You know, so I can't fly my drone if it's raining. Can't fly my drone if it's really windy. and things of that nature, because it's only a little drone. It's only the DJI Mini 3 Pro, so it weighs 249 grams. It's under 250 grams, so it can handle some wind. I've had it pretty choppy up the mountains and that before, but it's not great. But even worse than wind is rain, and it really hinders. If you use, those of you that have watched my previous series, my films, my episodes that I've produced on here, or the previous episodes of this series as I travel around the entire coast of Scotland, you'll know that I like putting in drone shots. It just adds a different dimension to the vlogs and things like that as well, and I really pride myself on them. So it's just one of these things. I just hope I get to showcase it as well as I really want to, because it's a beautiful part of the country. It really is. But there's also parts of it, especially the small harbour towns like St Monans, Pittenweem, Upper and Lower Largo, and Anstruther, Crail and things like that, and obviously Elie. They can look really, really good when it's choppy as well, when the waves are flying and all that kind of stuff. So just going to have to play it by ear. But that's my plan. I'm going to go and park up there so I can settle in for the night, and then I'm 5 minutes from Culross and I can go and explore that wee town for the first time, because I've never ever been to Culross. And I've read Andy the Highlander's what's it called again? Scottish Myths and Legends or whatever. I can't remember what it's called now. Read his book and stuff, and he pretty much starts it there. So I'm looking forward to seeing it for myself tomorrow. Well, I was just getting tidied up and everything there, and I got a knock on the van, and I didn't know if it was because they recognised the van or what it was, but it's actually a young couple, and they needed a jump. I've just put everything away and all the rest of it, and I was like, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to move the van, but I forgot. I got one of these jumpers. Now, I actually talked a little bit about this on the episode before I came here, and I packed it in the van. First time I've had to use it, worked an absolute treat, worked first time. So well worth it. I got it off Amazon, and it is on my Amazon storefront. If you go to the link in the description of this video, you'll see my Amazon storefront, and I've got one link, but it goes to a page. You'll see one for Vanlife Essentials and one for filming equipment. That's in my Vanlife Essentials wolf box. And the good thing is as well, it also doubles up as basically a tyre pump as well, and you can set it, you know, to your sort of high PSIs and all that kind of stuff. First time I've had to use it, worked an absolute treat, so I'm delighted about that. And yeah, they're charging their battery now, and away to go for a run, and hopefully they'll be okay. But it just shows you how handy they can come in, not just for me, but also to help other people as well. There are places in Scotland where history feels distant, and then there are places like Culross. Walking these cobbled streets, it genuinely feels like you've stepped back in time. The noise fades, and suddenly you're surrounded by 17th century houses, leaning gently into one another, as if they've been in quiet conversation for hundreds of years. Culross reached its height in the late 1500s and early 1600s, when it became wealthy through the coal trade. The sea was once much closer than it is today, and ships would load coal directly from the shore, carrying it across the Firth of Forth and beyond. Even the famous Culross Palace, though it was closed when I arrived, wasn't technically a royal palace at all. It was built by Sir George Bruce, a wealthy merchant and mining innovator who developed one of Scotland's earliest underwater coal mines here, tunnelling beneath the seabed long before modern engineering made that seem possible. The wealth shaped the village you see today. The crow-step gables, the painted timber, the steep wynds climbing the hillside. It's no surprise that Culross has found new life on screen. The Mercat Cross was used in Outlander, its preserved streets providing the perfect backdrop for another story set centuries ago. But long before television crews arrived, Culross was already a rare survivor, a place that avoided industrial redevelopment that shaped much of Fife. And then there's the Abbey, sitting quietly above the village. Founded in the 13th century, it has endured the Reformation, neglect, restoration, and yet still remains part of the community today. In a modern world that moves so quickly, there's something deeply romantic about a place like this for me. Somewhere that hasn't tried to keep up, but instead has simply endured. And Culross doesn't just preserve buildings, it really preserves a feeling. Right, now this building here, just basically next to the palace, is Bessie's Cafe, and I was gonna go in and get my morning coffee. It's Tuesday, it's closed. Oh no. Oh, I'm gutted. But it is what it is. But it looks great. I mean, just look at the building. And then you've got the palace at this side. I mean, just walking these streets, it does feel like you're going back in time. I can totally understand why they filmed Outlander here. Because it is the way the buildings look, how they've been preserved. It's absolutely gorgeous. Well, wasn't that an absolute joy? What a beautiful, beautiful place Culross is. So glad that I made this the start of my Fife coastal trip. It's just fantastic, it really is. I'm definitely going to return at another time as well, when everything's kind of open and the palace is open, which is looked after by the National Trust of Scotland. Obviously they're doing a lot of works over the winter to get it ready for season, but I'm definitely going to go back, I think, and explore it. It just looks amazing. And all the colours of the buildings, the different colours, and the stonework, and even the cobbled streets aren't like your normal sort of cobbled streets that are relatively flat. You know, they were bumpy, and it's just, I love all that stuff. But it is now time to move on. I'm going to move further through the coast, go through Torryburn, basically through Rosyth and towards Burnt Island, and I'm going to stop at yet another castle I've never been to before, and it's a really important one because it is one of the oldest castles still standing in Scotland. I think there's 2 castles that pretty much make that claim, and this is one of them, and it's called Aberdour Castle. If Culross felt like stepping back into the 17th century, Aberdour Castle takes you back even further. Parts of this castle date to the late 1100s, making it one of the oldest surviving stone castles in Scotland, if not the oldest. The earliest section, likely built by the de Mortimer family around 1200, began as a fortified hall house. Not the sprawling structure you see today, but a defensible residence for a powerful local lord. Over the centuries it expanded and evolved. The powerful Douglas family later made it their seat, adding towers, ranges and refined living quarters as architecture shifted from purely defensive to more domestic comfort. What makes Aberdour fascinating is that you can see those layers, medieval strength at its core, Renaissance influence added later, and gardens that reflect changing tastes and status. It's not frozen in one period, it tells a story of adaptation. And just beside the castle stands St Fillan's Church, founded in the early 12th century, around 1123, making it one of the oldest medieval parish churches in Scotland, still in use today. For nearly 9 centuries, people have gathered here through wars of independence, religious reformations, plagues, revolutions, and world wars. Castles speak of power to me, and churches speak of continuity. And here in Aberdour, you have both, side by side, quietly enduring while the world around them changes. Right, well, that was great. So on my original plan, my next stop was going to be a quirky little museum in Burntisland called the Museum of Communication. I'd never been before. I just thought it sounded quite interesting and looked quite interesting, but unfortunately it's only open at the weekends. So, and it's Tuesday. It just hasn't sort of lined up with my filming schedule and how that's sort of gone, you know, up to this point. And after the first few weeks, I have decided that to try and give myself weekends off. Well, I say weekends off, I mean weekends off from filming. I'll still be editing the next week's YouTube video and scheduling all my posts for Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. But I can sit and watch the football and just sort of chill out a little bit more, really. So it's a shame if there's anything that's kind of only open at the weekends. I don't know if that's year round or if that's just because it's winter. I don't know. So I'm going to bypass that, drive through Burntisland, and I'm going to head to Kinghorn Beach and check that out and have a little stroll. Why not? Yeah, that's us just coming into Burntisland and then just go along to Kinghorn Beach from there. And I would have really, again, this is another one of these places I would like to spend a little bit more time at. Burntisland used to be a place where a lot of people went on holiday and things like that, and used to have the, I don't know if they're still there or not, like the arcades and all that kind of stuff down there. And I do believe there's some really nice award-winning places to like eat and cafes and stuff like that, but again, I'm just going to be passing through. You can see the coast here. I suppose at this part of the world in Fife you would call this the links, Burntisland links. It's the same in Kirkcaldy, and you get the used to remember going to the links market down in Kirkcaldy when I was a youngster, going through from Cooper, all the different arcades and sort of little rides and the waltzers and all that kind of stuff. It was the good old days. I'm sure they still do it. I mean, I'd imagine they will. They used to do one in St Andrews as well. They do them in Dundee at the Caird Park. Well, they used to anyway. I don't know where they do these things now. It's a long time ago. Okay, well that was a nice wee jaunt. You can see the tide coming in. Again, I was actually speaking to a local there. I didn't get it on camera, but she lives on one of those houses at the front and was telling us that yesterday they were basically, she's on the second floor and the waves, the spray was going pretty much up to her window, and that's ground first, second, I mean, for those of you watching from afar. So yeah, they must have been pretty crazy coming up against that wall, and you can see all the debris, you know, built up against the wall, and even on the road when you're walking along, it's just seaweed everywhere as well. It's pretty choppy. Again, easterly winds today, so it's blowing inland. So when the tide comes in, it comes crashing off those rocks. It looks really spectacular. It is getting a little bit later in the afternoon now. So my plan tonight is just to head along to Kirkcaldy and park at the promenade. And that'll be me for the night, basically. And then we'll kick off again tomorrow morning, carry on further along the coast. Right, so now it's time for one of the most annoying tasks that you have to do living in a van. Change the bed sheets. Done. 10 minutes later, fresh sheets. You cannot beat that feeling, but it is a pain in the arse in a van. Well folks, it's another really wet, grey day. Everyone's got their car lights on and it's during the day now. It's pretty dark and miserable. The clouds are all grey, it's raining. Not the best day for filming, I must admit. But I'm just going to head only about 5 minutes along the coast to a castle to start the day. And that is called Ravenscraig. And I wanted to come here. I think it's a 15th century castle, or maybe 16th century. Not quite sure, I'll find out when I'm there. But it was featured in one of Sir Walter Scott's poems. And if you remember back to episode 3 of this series, I was in Edinburgh and I showed you the Scott Monument and talked a little bit about him, his influence on just how the rest of the world sees Scotland through his writings, essentially. So I'm going to head there this morning before carrying on a bit further down the coast. From above, Ravenscraig Castle feels caught between two worlds. Built around 1460 by James II of Scotland, it was one of the first castles in the country designed to withstand heavy artillery. Its thick, rounded front was constructed to absorb cannon fire, a sign that warfare was already changing. Centuries later, the sea remains the same, but everything behind it is transformed. Where once there were fields and open ground, housing estates now stretch inland, the modern world pressing right up against medieval stone. Sir Walter Scott even referenced Ravenscraig in his poem The Lay of the Last Minstrel, tying it to Scotland's literary imagination as well as its military past. This castle is a reminder that history doesn't sit in isolation, it lives among us, sometimes quietly, sometimes dramatically, but it's always in view. Well, that was great. Didn't actually go inside. I just wanted to get some nice shots of it and show that sort of backdrop where you've got something so beautiful and ancient right there mixed with the modern sort of industrial world as well. It's just such a nice sort of, it's just such a contrast, you know. But it's a beautiful castle. It's a real hidden gem, really, when you think about it. And those people that live in those houses right there, you'll wonder how many people really appreciate what they've got on their doorsteps at times, because it is stunning. And if it was in a place like Aberdour Castle up, near Stonehaven, where there's nothing surrounding it, it would be just as iconic in terms of photography and all the rest of it as well. But I like that sort of, to show that contrast and that realism that you get. You've got the old world and the new world, essentially, and it's I can't say which one I prefer. Well, I can actually. Definitely prefer the old. Certainly to look at, but that's human progress, some people might call it. Now I'm just away to leave Ravenscraig, and my next stop was probably one of the stops that I was most excited about for this entire road trip. Never mind just this stretch of coast. Just along the coast from here, and they have these amazing caves at the coast there, and inside them there are the oldest and largest concentration of Pictish carvings anywhere in Scotland, therefore the whole of the UK, and some of them are over 1500 years old. But I contacted SWACS, which is the East Wemyss Ancient Cave Society. But the Cave Society, what they've done is they've gated off a number of the caves. So you can actually walk down there and you can see the outside of the caves, but to go in them, you need to book a tour with someone from SWACS, one of the volunteers. And I'm absolutely delighted to say that I have managed to organise a tour with one of them. And I honestly cannot wait to see these carvings. It is going to be absolutely amazing. Hi folks, well I did say I was very, very excited to be here, and I've met Sue from SWACS that has come to give me the cave tour of the Pictish carvings in Wemyss. As I said earlier in this episode, this is one of the things I was most looking forward to for this whole trip around Scotland's coastline. And Sue, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to meet me and do this. Honestly, it's greatly appreciated. Just to give folks an idea of how it kind of works, you can book tours on their website to come inside the gated caves to see these amazing carvings. However, I do believe it's generally at the weekend, isn't it?
We do our public tours every Sunday from April through to September.
Right.
But it's always an option to get in touch with us, and we can make ad hoc arrangements. For that, we do need notice, but the tours are all free. We want to spread the knowledge of these caves as much as we can, and help people to appreciate them. So
brilliant.
We don't charge either way.
No, well listen, thank you so much, and I cannot wait to see it. Should we go in the first one?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Wow, I'm going to put my head torch on, I think.
Just get my torch out. So here we are in Court Cave Passage, so that's the first carvings that we're going to look at in here. So the Wemyss Caves are famous for their ancient carvings, particularly the Pictish ones, which are very early in date, possibly the earliest Pictish carvings you'll find anywhere. So
wow, brilliant. Yeah, I've heard up to around about 1500 years old or something like that.
Yeah, or more. We're at the latest dates, push that back to about 300 CE, so about 1800 years old.
Jeez, 1800. Wow, right, okay.
What we've got here is a series of cup marks. And cup marks, or more typically cup and ring marks, are associated with the Bronze Age usually. So if that's the case, these are at least 2,500 plus years old. Can we be certain of that? Well, no, because there's nothing diagnostic enough. There's no way of dating a carving by some scientific method. You can only look at what's carved, the methods of carving, and the style in which it's carved. Those things, tell us about it.
Got you.
So, some people, I mean, I don't know whether you can spot any kind of pattern there yourself.
That looks a little bit like a sort of cross or something.
Yeah, that's what jumps out at us, because as humans we're pattern-seeking creatures, and if we see anything that looks like something we recognise, then it jumps out at us.
Yeah, it does.
But I would argue against it being a cross. I mean, because it's for a start, you have to take all the marks into consideration, not just the ones that make the pattern.
Okay.
You've got more here.
Yeah.
And actually, if I go over this side and light it.
Okay.
You can even see these ones down here, which this has been sheared away since, but there were more marks down there originally.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to take them all into account, not just pick out the ones that do make a pattern.
Yeah.
But also, we do have a lot of crosses in these caves, and they're all of a type. What you get is a single vertical line, horizontal line, and what they all have in common is that the stem of the cross is just the same length as the other three arms.
Okay, got
so
you.
it's nothing like this in the
it's got
design
that
of the
sort of
cross.
shape,
or
yeah.
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 And what it means, of course, we can't say because we're going back to the Bronze Age, so this is prehistory. There's no written records about what they were
Of course.
intending to.
Yeah, well, it couldn't be a cross, could it? Because it's far too ancient.
Well, if it really is Bronze Age,
Yeah.
So if that were the only candidate for Bronze Age carving we knew of, then we probably would say, well, it's just a coincidence that someone's making these marks. So you could do that, quite easily and have nothing to do with the Bronze Age.
Yeah.
But we do have another carving, which I can show you a picture of. It's a very much more typical Bronze Age cup and ring marking. But you'll see it says Michael Cave.
Yeah.
Michael Cave was located in Michael Colliery, which is just down the shore from here. So it's the
Okay.
nearest colliery. And the story is that when, back in 1929, they wanted to install some new boilers in this colliery. And for that, they found this, they located this space, which this cave must have been known about, but kind of forgotten about.
Right, okay.
And they had a look and they noticed various carvings on the walls. So luckily for us, they called in the local expert who was a guy called George Dees. He was a Kirkcaldy architect, but his spare time passion was archaeology.
Right, okay.
So he came down with his mate who had a camera and they took images, they made a cast of this as well. So we had all that evidence. But as soon as they were finished, the workmen filled the place with concrete so they could install these boilers. So we do not have these carvings anymore. But that is much more typically Bronze Age carvings. So, if we've got one just down the road here, why not another one here? So,
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, what's that?
do you want to tell me what you can make out there? Any guesses?
No. I'm trying to look at it in other ways as well. Is that... Wait a minute. Is that a person holding... Because I see legs, I see a head, I see arms, and they're holding something.
Yeah.
Is that
That's
what
how
we're-
you interpret it. Of course, this is
Wow.
all a matter of interpretation. But yeah, we take that to be a human figure holding something. And it's got a long history of what it's been interpreted as. Back in the Victorian period, these caves were really famous amongst antiquarians and others who came here to have a look. And one of these came up with the idea that this was a Norse carving and
okay.
ventured to say, well, perhaps that's the god Thor and his hammer. And this on the right-hand side here, maybe that's one of Thor's goats, because he had goats to pull his chariot. And you can see the kind of the head, the front legs, the back legs, and horns or antlers there. Now, it's a long time since we've taken that theory seriously, but people like a name to put to things, and so it continues to be known by lots of locals as Thor and his goat.
Yeah.
However, we have a new theory just a few years old. The chair of our group has been researching this and has done a lot of very interesting work. But what he associates it with is a number of other carvings, and I can show you some pictures. So you can see similarities with our figure up there. Now, the problem with these is that they're all either on or near Hadrian's Wall, which is about 100 miles south of here. So what's our one doing stuck up here all on its own? Well, that's the question, really. But you can see the similarity of this figure standing there holding something. And we can also explain what they're holding. Now, it looks a bit like a spear, except if you look at the bottom end of it, it's kind of rounded.
Yes.
So this is what's sometimes referred to as a ball-ended spear.
Okay.
And the Picts
That's
use
so
these,
similar.
and other British tribes must have. They're down here, in these other carvings as well, which are south of here.
Wow.
And the bull on the end was made of bronze,
Yep.
and it was hollow. It's actually quite tiny. I've seen a real one because one was found at a dig on East Lomond Hill, which is just a few miles from here. And it's only very small. You can hold it easily in your hand. And they would fill it with seed or some sort of gravel or something like that, so that when you shook the spear, it would make a noise.
Right, okay.
So either maybe a threat to the enemy if you've all got these spears, all shaking them, making that noise, or perhaps more sort of, as a kind of instrument for ceremonial purposes.
Wow.
But anyway, these were, as you see, common among other tribes. And it does kind of, give that extra association with these carvings here.
It does.
So you'll see it says Cocydius there. That in at least one place is how this god is named. And Cocydius is a Romano-British god. And a god of hunting or war. Romano-British because the Romans, they don't try and get rid of the gods in the places they visit. They just incorporate them into their own belief systems. Oh yeah, god of war, that must be equivalent to our god Mars.
Right.
Hunting, Sylvanus,
Yeah.
It all kinds of gets melded together. Now, how he got up here? Well, I think there was a lot more travel back in those days than people ever realise. A lot more connections, communication, trade.
Yeah.
Of course, they were fighting sometimes, but not all the time. They probably traded a lot with their neighbours as well.
Yeah.
And people travelled, but so do ideas. So it could have something to do with why this ended up here.
Wow.
But how will we date it? Well, maybe around the end of the Roman presence here. So we're looking at around 300 CE or something like that.
Wow. Right. Okay.
That is very tentative, but that's our best guesstimate at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So when you say CE, that's the equivalent of AD,
That's
isn't it?
exactly the same, yeah.
Right,
It stands for Common Era rather than Anno Domini, so
right, okay.
It's just a bit modernised, I guess.
Perfect, yeah, I thought so. Right, Sue, so tell me a little bit more about SWACS and the work that you do.
Okay, well, SWAC stands for East Wemyss Ancient Cave Society.
Yeah.
And we were formed back in 1986, so this year is actually our 40th anniversary.
Brilliant.
So we've got big celebrations this year, lots of interesting things happening. But it was formed in response to an incident that happened in one of the caves we'll see later, where a car was pushed in and set on fire, and it destroyed a whole panel of the Pictish carvings. I mean, there's nothing left of these carvings now.
Oh, what a shame.
Because of this fire, yeah.
Yeah, so the mission is really to preserve the carvings inside the caves for obviously future generations to come and things of that nature.
Yeah. They've been here so long, they are exceptional in their importance because there's no other, all the other caves in Scotland put together do not have as many Pictish carvings as we've got in these caves here.
All of them together?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that. I knew the highest
important.
concentration was here, but
you'll
wow.
find other caves with carvings, but they don't have the sheer number of Pictish carvings we've got here, or the variety of different ones rather than, just lots of the same carving kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they're really, really important for that.
Now this next cave that we're going to go into, cave number 2, it is particularly dark. So I'm going to try and show the carvings using Sue's torch. Other than that, it's going to be pretty difficult to film. So we'll get the torch. Whatever angle you think is best. And I'll come in closer, right? Wow, there's so many.
And they're all on this wall. And that is important because I'm shining my torch on it now because it is dark, but there would have been more light in this cave before a collapse at the entrance behind me. And in Pictish times, this will have been the way you will have seen them, with this light coming from outside. at this glancing angle to bring out the contours of these carvings. That's why they chose this wall here. So the other walls of this cave, they don't have any Pictish carvings. It's only this one. So they knew what they were doing, and they weren't trying to hide them away and make them a secret. They actually knew how to show them off at their best, and that's what they were doing.
Wow.
So if we want to take a closer look at some of them,
Yes, please.
I will start up this end, because go to this here. I hope you can see what's there. Do you see the two circles?
Yes,
and
I can.
joined together. That's called a double disc. That is reflected in our grill. And it's the most common Pictish symbol you will find. And often it's combined with something else. And in this case, you can see the line going through the middle.
Yes.
And it's kind of broken there, but it's got lots of kind of budding branches at the top there.
Yeah.
That's why it's called a floriated rod. And yeah, wouldn't it be nice to know what they actually meant by these combinations of symbols? Unfortunately, we don't. There's loads and loads of theories, and people believe various things about how sophisticated a language these symbols might have been, or
Okay.
I mean, they obviously understood each other, but we've no way of recreating that without a Rosetta Stone turning up to, give us translations. It is guesswork. And this here, do you see?
Oh, what is that?
It's either a swan or
Yeah,
a
it looks like a
goose.
bird. That's what
Yeah.
I was going to say.
And yeah, I mean, if we saw that by itself, we wouldn't immediately say, oh yes, that's Pictish. We need something like the double disc to say,
It's
yes,
definitely,
that's
yeah.
definitely Pictish,
Well,
because
there's a
the Picts are the only ones who
I
did
can,
it.
I can already see
So-
a huge one down there.
Well, you can see the double disc again,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the floriated rod this time going through horizontally. All those branches up there.
Yeah.
The lines are sharper, and
Yeah.
it wasn't included in what the Victorians recorded, so we think that was added during the 20th century.
Okay.
But if we go across here,
Yeah.
so we've got a couple of crescent shapes there.
Yeah.
Lots of crescent shapes amongst Pictish carvings. But next to it to the right there is, now it's very hard to actually make this out, but it is in fact a Pictish beast, and that is kind of the second most common Pictish carving. Now I can show you, and you can see much better this Pictish beast. So on the right hand side you've got the head,
Yeah.
and then you've got obviously a tail at the back, but can you see the way the legs curl
Yes,
backwards
yes.
as well? So this is a peculiarity of these animals, which I believe are from the Pictish imagination. Some people try to say, oh, that it's a goat or it's a dolphin or whatever, but I think they knew what they were drawing, and it was from their imagination. They would have known how to draw a dolphin or any other animal. So.
Wow.
So I think the stories they
Or
told
a-
each
or
other
a-
around
or a
the
myth-
fireside,
a mythical
I-
beast.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
it's
think
maybe
exactly
it's Nessie.
that. Maybe, maybe, yeah. So we've got other things, and we believe these are particularly early in date because they don't seem to have settled down to a lot of the stylistic features that became common later on, and some of these we don't seem to find elsewhere. I mean, this we interpret as maybe a Pictish brooch. You can see the pin that goes through it there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I didn't see that at first. I can now.
Of course, that could be a totally wrong interpretation, but it's
Yeah.
a possible explanation.
Yeah.
And then if we go along here, there are some very weird almost triangular things that seem to cut off at the bottom, but with various arms sticking out from various sides. So there's that one, and if you go along here, you can see others. There's a very prominent one there,
Oh yeah.
and a very prominent one down there as well. We tend to call them shield shapes, but they're not really shaped as a Pictish shield will be, so it's only something to call them. We don't know what they represent, but they seem to be peculiar to the caves here.
What's the name of the cave that we were just in there then?
This is Court Cave. It's
Yeah.
the main part of Court Cave. We were first of all in Court Cave Passage. Yeah.
Okay.
And we don't know for certain why it was called Court Cave, but maybe the most likely explanation is that during the medieval periods, when the local landowners were the ones responsible for administering justice, they normally did that in the open air. But you can see a day like this, where it's very cold, very windy, it would make sense to use the shelter of the cave. You can actually fit a great many people into this space.
Yeah.
We've had 50 people seated in this little bit here. So, you know, you could get all the people coming into space like this. The acoustics are better, so, you know, it would be much easier to hear what was going on. So it makes sense for it to be used in that way.
Wow.
The only slight bit of evidence I'm aware of is that before that landslip in the 1970s, there was a rock which had a kind of groove in the top, as if a bell had hung over it, and they would ring the bell.
Ring the bell.
To be, you know, to summon people to the sessions.
Oh, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
This is our second cave, and I won't tell you what it's called for the moment.
You can immediately see all those squares and carvings out of the rock.
Yes.
Wow.
So I have this picture which was taken near the beginning of last century, which shows you the cave mouth we're looking at, but you can see it's all walled up at that time.
Yeah.
And that has to do with the use it was put to. Look very carefully, you might be able to see a series of little holes along the top there.
Yeah.
So that's a further clue. And there is another clue inside as we walk in.
You can see them. Look at that. Look at all those squares.
Yep. And that's
No.
your other clue. So,
This,
what could they have been?
A ducat.
Exactly so, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why it's called Dew Cave.
Right, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so...
I cannot believe this. Look at that. Wow.
So yeah, you find lots and lots of ducats around Scotland, but very few Dew Caves, so this is quite exceptional.
Right, just for people watching at home, can you just explain what a ducat actually is?
Okay, well, dew is the Scottish version of the word dove.
Yeah.
So it's basically a dovecot, or a dove cave in this case. So dove, pigeon, it's the same bird. They used to be kept as a source of fresh meat during the winter, it's said.
Yeah.
It used to be that they had nothing to feed their larger animals on over the winter. So most of, apart from their breeding stock, they would have slaughtered the animals, sorted the meat and eaten that during the winter. So the birds were a source of fresh meat.
Wow, right, okay. And that was the main use.
Yeah, as I
for
understand
food,
it, yeah.
Brilliant.
I mean, there is some controversy about that. There are other possible uses which are sometimes mentioned.
I mean, I've seen ducats before, but I've never seen one quite like this.
Well, yeah.
I mean, wow. So how many caves are there then here with Pictish carvings in them?
With Pictish carvings in?
Yeah.
3.
Three caves. Oh no. So what is that building there?
This is Macduff Castle.
Oh, is this where Macduff is?
Yeah.
Got you. And are you able to tell us a little bit about the castle then? Is that?
Yes, indeed, yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So, this is Macduff Castle, and this is Macduff as in the famous Thane of Fife, appears in Shakespeare's play Macbeth.
Yeah.
So he was a real historical figure. He lived around 10th century, and we do believe that his ancestral seat was actually here, but nothing you see that is here today was here in Macduff's time, because back then they built structures in wood. They didn't start building castles in stone like this till about the 13th century.
Okay.
So So yeah, all this land is owned by the Wemyss family still, and the Wemyss family believe themselves to be descended from Macduff.
Wow.
So this is the Wemyss family ancestral seat as well. So we get historical records from, for instance, Edward the First time, the English king, the so-called Hammer of the Scots.
Longshanks.
Is he the same one?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm not very good on the monarchy business. So yeah, he came to visit Michael Wemyss, who was the head of the family at the time, and apparently it wasn't grand enough for him. He was touring around Scotland, staying with all the major families who he had obliged to sign this oath of allegiance to him. And Michael Wemyss decided shortly after that to throw his lot in with Robert the Bruce instead, which led to instructions from the English crown saying pull down the castle.
Wow.
Which was most of it, I think, was pulled down at that time, but it was very quickly rebuilt.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's fun. You know, when you talk about castles, especially all the way up this east coast. I mean, they've been destroyed, rebuilt,
Exactly.
destroyed,
Yes.
rebuilt for
Yes.
such a long time, and you'll know yourself. You know, Dunnottar Castle up in Stonehaven. There's evidence of an original sort of Pictish fort there as well, and this I think is it carvings in the rocks there as well. I think there might be a couple that they found, but all these castles have been built on all these old forts, and they've been destroyed. And not just by the English. Robert the Bruce famously destroyed many castles in Scotland, and his own, in fact, you know, as a sort of military tactic almost. So, but yeah, that's fascinating. Thank you for that. I love these designs. I love these designs that you've put on top of the gates.
You might not understand that, but you will do once we've looked at the carvings.
Right, now we've come in here into the last cave, Jonathan's cave, to get out of that rain and wind. As you can see, my face is rather red.
It's watering.
Yeah, it is very, very cold. But you wanted to tell me something about the rocks down there at the beach.
The little bit of shore you were filming just now, something very exciting happened there in December 2023. It all started when our site warden Stuart spotted this little fellow, baby grey seal pup.
Yeah.
And he seemed to be stranded. There was no other seal in sight, and so Stuart sought advice from the SSPCA. And they said, well, leave him 24 hours, and if he's still there, you know, we'll come collect him. So little Sammy was still there, and so they rescued Sammy. He spent a couple of weeks in the sanctuary and then was released, and thriving as far as we know. However, while Stuart was down there, he looked in the boat behind him, which is gradually eroding away, and he spotted that.
Oh, wow.
After just a few metres further along, this, which, you got it straight away. You got any training in that or something?
No, it says it there.
Oh, it's
We have to get that in. That's such a good moment.
I was so impressed.
That is absolutely classic.
It's two bones still articulated as they would have been in life.
Yeah.
And so it seemed worth digging around to see whether maybe some more bones were there.
Yeah.
And indeed there were. So what they discovered there is that.
Oh, a full skeleton.
A full skeleton.
Wow.
Really exciting. I mean, there are other burials that have come up along the coast there. But the last ones found before these were about 30 years back, and they turned out to be 9th, 10th century in date.
Okay.
But they were laid out Christian-wise, you know, straight out, east-facing.
Okay.
Whereas this is called a crouch burial because it's kind of like, you know, an embryo position there.
Yeah.
And those we normally associate with the Bronze Age. So if that's the case, we're looking at least 2,500 years ago. So it took an age for the results to come back, but the bones have been carbon dated, and it turns out they are about 700 to 800 years BC before the Common Era.
Wow.
So start off maybe. That's the first of our little crosses that we can
That was one,
actually
sorry, what was
see.
that?
A little cross. Like those that were in West Duke Cave, it's similar to that. But we'll see more crosses at the back of this cave. But can you see that there?
Yeah.
You've got a nice swan. You can see the long neck and the head and the nice graceful body. So, our old friend the double disc here, which is quite crude. It's not one of the most elegant carvings. A little matchstick animal by the side of it. But these are not all done by the same hand, and maybe everybody's got to sort of start somewhere. And
of course.
Quite a rough carving that. Now this carving here is one of our notched rectangles. You can see the rectangular shape with the notch in.
Oh yeah.
So that's a Pictish carving. So they're the carvings that are lost. There's a photograph at the bottom and a drawing from Victorian times.
There's the car.
Yeah, there's the car. So you got two Pictish beasts there and a swan in the middle. Beautiful carvings, but just totally destroyed, totally gone.
Shame.
So the only good thing to come out of that was that it was what led to the founding of Swax. Some local people got together and thought, we've got to do something about this. We can't just let all the carvings be destroyed.
Yeah. No, too right.
Back here we've got another Pictish beast. Try not to be distracted by these lines here, which make look as if it's got a long neck or something. That's another carving from another time. But if you look in this area here, you home in on those legs with the back the tail there, and the head is somewhere in here, but it's harder to make out now.
Oh yeah.
With the fish here, Pictish fish.
Oh, so it is. Could you shine the torch on that for me?
Okay.
That would be great. Oh, that is so clear.
So it is actually very Pictish in design. I have something I can show you
have a look. Yep.
to compare.
Yep.
So you've got a lovely Pictish beast, so we know we're dealing with Pictish carvings, and a fish which is very, very similar to that one on our wall in design.
Yep.
That same shaped body and tail fin and the line running through the middle.
Yeah.
So we're quite confident in believing that to be Pictish fish. Which you can see, I think even in the film you're taking, you can see how crude that is in comparison. You haven't got nice curved lines or anything like that. And it's got a silly smiley face. This is a 20th century fish. We've got before and after photographs.
It looks more like a pike than what the other fish was.
Sometime in the first quarter of the 20th century that was carved. The real shame about it is that we've got a figure next to it here which it just disrespects totally. And this figure, which it's not showing up very clearly. I wonder if I can go over the side. It's showing up terribly well. But you've got the head there, the body, the legs down here. And what the Victorians didn't know when they were here was that is very typically Pictish. We've had several carvings of Pictish figures which are full-length profile. Sometimes naked, sometimes clothed, strange sort of headgear. We don't know whether that's a hairstyle or a helmet or whatever. But there's several of these that have now been discovered.
Looks like a horse or a unicorn.
Right, okay. A lot of people think it's a bull. In fact, there's a textbook which describes it as a bull. From someone who hasn't done their homework, because that is what it looks like now, but it looked rather different just 100 or so years ago.
Oh yeah.
This is that same carving, but you can see it's been carved over in the 20th century. So we've got damage at the head, which this looks very much like a horse's head, and you can see the mane there. On the wall, not so much so.
Oh, yeah.
And you can see that the creature's put on weight. There's a line making the body much thicker there. The only thing which doesn't look horse-like in the original carving here is that tail. It's got a long tail which sort of flicks back.
Oh, yeah.
Which has led to an interesting theory about this. It's maybe the medieval person who carved this was trying to carve a lion, but had never seen a lion, only had a lion described. So it's an animal with a mane. Well, what do you do if you're told that and you only know horses? That's what you would draw. That's what you'd carve.
Yeah.
And then you're told it's got a long, flicky tail, like a cat's.
Yeah.
So you do that. So that's one theory about that carving, which I rather like.
So that picture we're looking at right now, that is a picture of this carving on this wall.
That's right,
back in
yeah.
1902.
Yeah.
You can
So,
really see
again,
like a huge difference.
Possibly people are doing that, not knowing they're defacing something so old and valuable.
Yeah.
But that's the reason for the grills, because
Yeah.
there's too many examples in this cave.
That's why they do need protection.
Extra
Ultimately.
carvings, the defacing of the carvings that here.
Yeah. It's quite clear, isn't it?
Ignore the red again. That's another reason why the name's
Ignore the red. Yeah.
But can you see that? We call it a trident shape because there's 3 prongs there and maybe a sort of fancy handle there. But it's probably not a trident. I mean, they're fishing implements, but they weren't, in use around these parts. So, so we don't really know what it is. One theory is that it's maybe a form of pedestal cross.
Okay. Yeah.
But there's another couple of them here. So you can see again these 3 prongs, and before that damage up there, that maybe looks like it was a cross.
Okay. Yeah.
The short stem is typical of all these crosses. So that is the most prominent one here.
Yeah.
But we have loads more. If I come here, you can see, if you watch where the shadow of my finger is, we've got one there.
Yeah.
We've got one here.
Yeah.
And then there's some more in that sort of space there. And up here we've got ones along the back there. Lots and lots of crosses. There's more over the other side. So tell me if you can see anything.
Oh yeah. You can see there's like legs or something coming down there. It looks like one of those big beasts.
How interesting you should say that, yeah, because we have a description from Simpson, who was the first person to publish on these caves, and he described a carving which he said there's an elongated body with a bulbous head, multiple legs. He said it's unclear what it's meant to be, but perhaps it's meant to be a boat. As soon as you get boat, you can see that's the body of the boat. There's this high prow and stern, and there's the multiple oars.
Oars, yeah, that's what I was...
And a steering oar
like a
at the back here
Viking,
as well.
Viking longship, maybe.
Well, it gets called the Viking boat, but, lots of people use boats of similar design. You'll see it hasn't got a central mast, so, and it is just 5 oars, so it's only a small craft for a dozen people. You're not going to come across any, major sea with that. But they might have used such things for trading up and down the coast. The Picts have an illustration. I found this design in a book, which, as it says, Pictish boat. And I like it particularly because we've got a boat very similar in size to this one here. So you can see in practice how big it will be. But notice these red sandstone cliffs behind and little settlement at the top. We can imagine that this picture was recreating the scene right here. So I like it for that reason.
Yeah.
The mystery about this, though, is it's a little different in the method of carving from most of the Pictish carvings we've got. The Pictish carvings, what they tended to do is chisel an outline and then smooth it. So you get all the carvings as outlines. But if you look at this, you can see the whole body of the boat has been pecked. So sort of carved away there. And there's only one other carving we've seen, which is similar to that, which is the figure of Cocydius in the first, in Court Cave Passage. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That similarly was pecked across the body of the figure and the head, and, yeah.
Okay.
Rather than just an outline. So maybe, because that similarity in style, it will mean this is maybe of a similar sort of date.
Okay.
It's conjecture, but it's interesting to think how old it might be. You know, we're looking at something like 300 CE for. But whatever the date turns out to be, we do think it's the oldest carving of a boat in Scotland.
Wow, amazing. Well, Sue, honestly, thank you so much for that. It was absolutely amazing. I really appreciate you taking the time to take me around the caves.
It's been great fun. Thanks for coming.
No,
It was a little more windswept for the journey, but
yeah, the weather's not been kind to us, but I had an amazing experience, and I hope you enjoyed watching it too. Thanks again.
yeah. Thank you very much for coming. I
you're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you. Well, what an experience that was. Sue was such a lovely person, and I'm really grateful she took time out of her day to come and show me around the caves for this. Honestly, it was incredible. And bear in mind as well, folks, that we were out there, the weather really turned on us. It was absolutely freezing, the wind's howling, rain, the lot, and we were basically out there for over 2 hours. It was so difficult trying to edit it and trying to trying to make it not too long at the same time, because everywhere we went, everything we looked at was sensational, and Sue just was so knowledgeable. I mean, I would do a whole episode of that whole tour if I could. Maybe I will one day. But honestly, what an experience. And this is the type of hidden gem that, you know, you just wouldn't know about if you didn't really dig into a specific sort of area. I didn't know that this was here, and I grew up in Cooper. I only found out about this place when I was researching for this road trip, and I'm fascinated by sort of ancient carvings and ancient standing stones and Pictish sort of history that we know so little about. You know, I love kind of learning about that stuff. I did a series previously, my first ever series on YouTube in February 2025 last year, and that was all from Orkney, you know, and I created a film from my time there just recently as well, a few months ago, which is on my page. The link to that, my 3 films I made from Orkney, the Isle of Skye and Lewis and Harris, the links are all in the description of this video if you want to check them out. But ever since I went to Orkney, I've been fascinated by these things. That was my first experience of standing stones when I went there. And, you know, to have that concentration of Pictish carvings in these caves, basically in East Wemyss, you know, on the Fife coast, is just incredible. Yeah, well done to Swax, and yeah, I'll definitely be back on a better day to have another experience again. I'm just going to take a wee detour here, because on the left hand side there, see that little stadium, and that is the stadium for East Fife Football Club. And my dad used to play for them back in the early 70s when they were in the old Premier League, which was called the First Division back then. So he played against everyone, played against Rangers, played Celtic, obviously, the Lisbon Lions, and Hearts, Hibs, Dundee United, Dundee, everyone basically, before emigrating to Australia and playing football over there. and he does sometimes get together, and I think once a year all those old players from that team get invited to Bayview for a game, and it gives them a chance to sort of catch up. They go out on the pitch and get a wee round of applause. But my dad still goes every year to catch up with his old teammates, which is really nice. Right, so we're just coming into London Links, it's called, golf courses and stuff here. And this is officially the start of the East Nuke, essentially, the East Nuke of Fife. And I might be biased because I was brought up in Cooper, but it is one of my favourite parts of the whole country. It's just a beautiful area to explore. And home to the place where you'll get the best fish and chips in the whole of the UK. This is Lower Largo. It looks peaceful today, a small fishing village where the sea still feels close enough to step into the street. But this place is tied to one of the most famous survival stories ever written, and is the home of the fictional character Robinson Crusoe. Let me explain. In 1704, Alexander Selkirk was a sailing master who argued with his captain whilst off the coast of South America. Convinced the ship was unseaworthy, he demanded to be put ashore on the uninhabited island of Mas Itiera, expecting rescue. Instead, he was stranded there alone for more than 4 years. When he was finally rescued in 1709, his story spread across Britain and eventually inspired Daniel Defoe's famous novel. So while Robinson Crusoe may be fictional, the endurance behind it and the inspiration was very real, and it began here in this quiet wee corner of Fife. Well, as you can see, I've just got parked up, and I've parked up at a place called Ruby Bay in Elie. It's a lovely little park up, £10 for the night, and it's really nice, obviously overlooking the water and things like that as well. There's a couple of nice walks around here, but it's a great wee spot to end this episode. I really hope you've enjoyed watching as much as I have filming it and making it for you, and for myself. I enjoy watching my stuff back as well. You know, and if you have, you know, comments, likes, subscriptions, it all helps me grow the channel, and the more subscribers I have, the more likes, the more comments, the more chance there is of YouTube showing it to a wider audience ultimately. And of course, if you're one of the lucky few that have figured out how to hype a video, if you want to hype it, again, it's free. You can hype up to 3 times a week. It would be greatly appreciated, and again, it just helps YouTube put these videos out for small creators like myself. But anyway, I am going to have an early night tonight. I'm going to my bed. So listen, have a great week. I'll see you next Sunday. Like and subscribe for more van life adventures.